We know what the outcome of this is. We, the people, won. We won.
You said this election was messed up. You said you have evidence of cheating. Why should voters trust that you won this election fair and square if elections are just such a mess?
Well, we have a lot of evidence of irregularities and problems, and we're going to address those.
Will you release it?
I'm not going to release it to the fake news, but we'll release it to the authorities.
Why not?
In Arizona, Trump-backed candidate for governor Kari Lake doing what Trump did best, declaring victory prematurely and crying fraud while unwilling and unable to provide any evidence. Officials across the state are working against GOP big liar candidates like Lake as they sow more doubt in our elections and prove their threat to our country once more. That includes those like Mark Finchem, the Republican nominee for Secretary of State, who questioned the integrity of a race he ended up winning. Joining us now, Arizona's Secretary of State, Democratic nominee for governor, Katie Hobbs. Madam Secretary, welcome. So here you are. How do these lies further erode the trust that voters have in our elections, not just in your state, but around the country? And what do you think happens if these Republicans like Mark Finchem and Kari Lake are in charge in Arizona elections and elsewhere around the country?
Look, these lies are undermining the integrity of our elections in so many ways. It's quite honestly exasperating at this point. People just want to move on from the 2020 election, but folks like Kari Lake and Mark Finchem have centered their entire campaigns on it. And I think because they're more interested in appealing to the former president than they are to the majority of Arizonans. And we need to move on. And how we move on is not giving these folks the votes to get into these offices. We need to elect leaders who are going to uphold the trust and integrity in our processes, not continue to undermine them. It's part of why I'm running, and I need folks to join me at katiehobbs.org. But it is very concerning that this many people who are touting these lies are running for these high offices and a heartbeat away from getting into them.
And while all that's going on, Madam Secretary, you still have the power to take Kari Lake's election fraud claims seriously. Have you thought about, okay, let's delay the certification of this race to see what the results are, and then go from there?
Well, first of all, I don't have the authority to delay the certification. It is a statutory date, and the counting of all the legal ballots will be done in time to make sure that we appropriately canvass the results and certify the results. And in fact, I am the authority that Kari Lake referred to that she would turn the evidence over to rather than the, quote, fake news. And she has not turned over any evidence to me. The fact is she doesn't have any evidence. This is just a baseless claim that she's using to continue to gin up her base.
So just so we're clear, you can't really begin any process until you receive some evidence of a claim made by a candidate, and then you can look into that.
I mean, the appropriate venue to make a claim at this point would be to a court. But there's nothing to file any legal challenges on. And right now, Kari Lake is winning. So I don't know why she's continuing to make these claims, because I think it just undermines her own probable victory in this election.
She's claiming fraud while she's winning, so maybe she's not winning. But now that you know who you're going to be replaced by, Mark Finchem, at least he's attempting to, who said he wouldn't have conceded if he lost this recent primary. What do you make of that?
Well, I mean, this is right out of the Trump playbook, right? And it's part of the plan to continue to sow doubt, to undermine the confidence, and create all this chaos about what the actual processes are and what people do or don't have the ability to do in these processes. But it is highly concerning that someone like Mark Finchem, who is an oath keeper, election denier, was at the January 6th insurrection, could be in this office. He has said if he was Secretary of State, Donald Trump would still be president. There's no legal ability for that to happen. And so this is really concerning. We need to move on from these lies and make sure that we're focused on upholding the integrity of the processes. Nobody who is more focused on the outcome should be in charge of our elections.
You say quite frequently democracy is on the ballot this November. So how do you and candidates like you contend with Trump's power over these elections and the candidates that he has out there running on the big lie?
Well, as Secretary of State, I'm going to continue calling out the lies. We've been doing that for the last 2 years. As a candidate for governor, I am talking to voters across the state about the issues they're concerned about, how we bring people together to solve these issues, and how I have a track record of doing that. And these election deniers are not offering any real solutions to any of the issues that we're facing right now.
The New York Times reporting, here's what a Trump campaign lawyer wrote in December 2020 about 2 Arizona election officials involved in Trump's fake electors plot. Arizona Republican Party Chair Kelly Ward and State Senator Kelly Townsend. Ward and Townsend are concerned it could appear treasonous for the Arizona electors to vote on Monday if there is no pending court proceeding that might eventually lead to the electors being ratified as the legitimate ones. What does it say that they went along with it despite knowing it might fail and the legal concerns that they had?
I mean, the lengths that these people would go to overturn results that they don't like should be alarming to all of us. They need to stop. They need to understand that we have legal processes in place and they were followed, and they need to be held accountable for these continued, repeated attempts to undermine our democracy and overturn the will of the voters and, quite frankly, break the laws.
Arizona Secretary of State Katie Hobbs, thank you for spending some time with us. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
And we are watching an Austin, Texas courthouse where we've learned a verdict has been reached in the Alex Jones defamation case against parents of the Sandy Hook's victims. We will bring you that verdict as soon as we get it in. Coming up, why Democrats are confident the hardline abortion stance within factions of the GOP is set to backfire on the party.